But initially, time was my concern.
Okay.
The same concern was for time as well. Just that, because we do it in our first block, so that time is so short, anyways. Just finding the time to implement it effectively.
Okay. One of the barriers I'm starting to kind of see as we move forward with this is getting teachers to kind of buy in. One of the things that I'm noticing is that my math teachers, because I don't think they utilize a lot of vocabulary strategies, they're jumping at the opportunity to use a strategy. So they're kind of, it's like a fresh thing for them. Whereas from some of my ELA classes, because it's another strategy added into what they already have, it's getting them to understand that this is to target something different. And although we're focused on the vocabulary acquisition piece, the thing I want to keep in everybody's forefront is really we're trying to train our kids on how to answer questions, so that really what we're going to see happen is this is going to be a situation where they're going to test better overall, not just in a particular domain for vocabulary acquisition, but just periods, because they are now starting to understand, or they will start understanding what the question is asking of them.
I would say for me, for my role, that was the challenge, just making certain that the teachers had the understanding that it was not one more thing or something that was going to take a lot of time. So I found the majority of what I did to be reassuring and then finding ways to support them. So whether it was making certain that they had the resources, so that way there was no excuse of, well, I don't have chart paper, I don't have markers, I don't have. So I found myself making certain that supporting them in that way, and then also helping us to kind of streamline what we were doing, because initially I think it's like we kind of started broad, and then we worked with that with the list of words provided by Leah, and then we highlighted and identified the 12 powerful words, and that way we knew as a springboard, this is where we're going to start. And so then we were having conversations in PLC about, okay, let's look at our standards, what we're getting ready to teach. Out of these words, what is it?
Miss Driver, please call the office. Any third grade teacher, call the office. Thank you.
Which of these words are will be coming up in our standards analysis this week?
Okay. All right. So, what strategies are you guys using to meet the needs of those students who are not getting it, and like, and or the data supports that they aren't as successful as their peers?
Well, this early into implementation really is just anecdotal notes, kind of just observing who's engaged, who's participating when we're going over and reviewing the words, and then in small group attacking those words again and kind of reinforcing them is what I've been doing right now.
That's the same for first grade. The kids that are struggling, we revisit the words during our small group time, and then make sure that we're applying it to what we're working on during small group.
Do you guys feel like this routine is helping some of those kids who typically don't get or catch on to the vocabulary like their normal peers? Because now that we're focusing on using a routine, it's almost something that the kids can expect every day.
Yes.
I do, and the fact that we have to have those anchor charts all throughout the classroom, so we're not reviewing this word and putting it away somewhere. They're seeing them all over the room, so if they are struggling with them, they know to refer back to the poster that can guide them, and so that's been very supportive. So that is a pivotal piece, having those posters in the room.
Okay. Are there any other challenges you and your colleagues have faced? Like, and if so, how have you guys worked to overcome some of those things?
From my team, I know some of them have had, their challenge has been the writing piece, is they feel like it takes a lot of time when they don't have strong writers in first grade. So we've just worked together on how we can simplify the process and give it, kind of scaffold it for the students that are struggling.
Okay.
And for me, kind of piggybacking off of what Dr. Broom said, the challenge of teachers feeling like it's one more thing. So even though you tackle that as a whole school, it's important for us to tackle it in a small setting with our colleagues, because getting them to further realize this is not an extra thing, and supporting them in maybe creating the posters in the beginning, so that's one less thing that they have to do. So yeah, it's really just getting them to realize this is not one extra thing.
The one thing that I kind of have noticed, and we had a conversation about this, Leah, is with our upper grades, our 3 through 5, is the phonetic sound piece of it. having to kind of take a step back from having the sound piece in it, because originally when we wrote, even when you had observed it.
I was out there.
Oh, you got it.
And I did give the feedback, and a lot of it is, especially with the lower grades, their main concern was having the younger kids do the writing piece and how much of that time it was going to take. So when they got to see me, I got a lot of, oh, that's not going to be as difficult as I initially thought. So then when I got to go in and visit them and seeing that they're implementing it in the same ways and give them that feedback that, yes, this is what we're looking for, I didn't have a lot of critiques really, because I think it is pretty straightforward, and once they got to see it, it was pretty clear cut. So, but overall, and even when Dilly was here, I think I spoke to most people that we came to see because they wanted to know how they did, what it looked like, so I was able to provide that feedback as well.
Okay, so let me ask you this, so moving away from the planning piece of it, because we naturally kind of flowed into the implementation piece of it. And I know, Lauren, you've done a lot of, because I've had you go do them on multiple days. And so, what challenges do you see outside of time that we probably face or could face, you know, just even continuing this? Because, you know, teacher buy-in is always an issue. Somebody may not see that it has value to it.
Yeah.
But with everything lining up the way it did, and getting people from pretty much, because we pretty much had somebody from every grade almost, you know, model their classroom, what challenges do you guys foresee moving forward with continuing this practice?
Even still, even though, and even with me, and I'll speak for myself, consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency, I didn't make a single poster last week, so, you know what I'm saying, just, consistency, I was. So consistency, just understand that this is, like we said, this is not just right now. This literally, next year, starting in August, you're going to start this process again, and it needs to be every single week. So I don't know if teachers need to put it in their lesson plans, I don't know if they need to know that someone's gonna walk around and look for their poster of the week, but something so that teachers know you can't slack on it.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron gave us a really good example, and I was watching the video that I had recorded in that session. And what he said was, he says, instead of doing sneak attacks, just plan it. Just say, guys, this week we're coming around to look at explicit vocabulary instruction. And when you do that, you do it enough, that before you know it, the horse and pony show becomes a real show. Because you faked it so many times. And so, as you say that, I'm thinking of, you know, Dr. Broom maybe making a small little section on the lesson plan that says explicit vocabulary for this week. That way we'll know exactly what you're doing, and it's a part that you're filling out, so it kind of forces you to be intentional.
It does.
And I do think what would mainly stop people is probably the prep that comes before teaching it. So if they do it in the lesson plans, you've done all the work.
Yeah.
So you might as well go ahead and do it to the class.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what process did we use to kind of collect student evidence or evidence of student learning?
Just anecdotal notes.
Okay.
And I do agree with Aaron when he said that we need to have some data, some numbers, some quantitative data. Because I can tell you, like I said in the meeting, but I understood what he meant. I can tell you that I am seeing my kids see those questions on iReady and thinking of the meaning of those words to help them answer the question.
Okay.
But having some sort of assessment will probably tie it all in.
I agree.
Okay. And so, yeah, we'll look into kind of building like little Freyer assessments.
But that was my question.
So I agreed and disagreed with them though. So, because remember, as I look at it from the bird eye view, and I know they want there to be an assessment where you can put this quantifiable data with it right then and there. But what my real plan was for this, and it's not just my plan, but my just initial thought was, we gotta get kids to start understanding what they're reading, what is being asked of them. And so even though I originally
thought about this from, okay, let's improve vocabulary acquisition. I really want my kids to be able to understand all the tests that they're taking.
Right, and so that was my question, when we kind of were focusing on the Frayer model, I kind of wanted them to move away from that, because that's just the tool.
It is the tool,
We just
yes.
want to know,
Yes.
if you see analyze,
Mhm.
can you know that it means to analyze the picture and the thing, and
And
so
they-
what
and
I
they're
was
showing that.
thinking,
And they're showing
and they
that.
are, and so that's what kind of was bugging me out, but, what I had thought about doing for my students is having like a little quiz, 5 words that we've talked about so far with different definitions, seeing if they can identify the meaning of that word, and then seeing if I could, come up with a question or 5 questions that have those words in it to see if they can accomplish the task. So I wanted to try to figure something out, I don't know if I would use Illuminate or make up my own.
Because I think using Illuminate will probably be the easiest because it's already there, like the item bank,
Yeah.
I mean,
If I
it's,
could find,
there.
like, I could hone in on those keywords, like
Right.
refer and
Mhm.
integrate, if I could hone in on questions that have those words,
Mhm.
that would be helpful, so that's what I was thinking about doing.
So,
so basically trying to see if they can perform the action
Yes,
mhm.
yes,
that the question is.
yes,
Because I was thinking too, doing it in my class and removing some of the content piece, so making it a simple thing that you have to describe. So I can see, can you really describe,
Mhm.
and not just, I have to know this content piece that I may be lacking.
Mhm. And I agree with you. I think they were wanting to see if we could run, and I want to make sure we can crawl first.
mhm,
And
I think we're crawling, but we're not standing.
well, no. But you know, I don't want us to crawl so fast that when we stand that we tilt over. So, and I get it, because they were focusing on, and I was like,
the
that
Frayer is just a
doesn't-
tool,
yeah,
we don't need
that
to
need
figure
be
out
told.
that piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's just something that they can have and hold to refer back to,
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
just a.
Exactly. So with that being said, because I want us, I'm gonna ask this last question because I do want you guys to get back to your classrooms and things of that nature. But with that being said, just as a reflection piece, you know, working in this team, one grow and one glow from each one of you guys about whether it's yourself, something that you recognize in yourself, or recognize working with this particular team, moving forward with the work that we're gonna do, because I do want this to be something that changes our culture. I'll start it off. All right, so one area of growth, that I think I was able to kind of get from it, and I still want to grow with it, is that being able to kind of delegate and let it go.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? And trusting the people around me so that I don't have to be part of everything, or have to speak to everything, or answer everything. Even in that debriefing session that we had, I found myself trying to make sure that you guys were taken care of, and you didn't need to be taken care of because you had already done all the work.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to be there to support you in answering it, because I do live the work. And even though I'm not going into the classroom and doing it every day, I did a lot of the initial research. So
Right.
I've seen it and been it and done it. So I wanna kind of get better at saying, okay, let me step back, and I know Lauren can do this. Leah, I've watched Leah do this.
Mhm.
I know she knows the answers to these questions.
So for me, a grow would be, there are some, I don't always know what your thought process is, and so I would have liked to be able, and I know you wanted me to chime in more, but if I had more of that science of reading and more of the background to time to, I guess, study science of reading, where you were really getting all your information from, I would have felt more comfortable speaking more.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily study it.
Got it.
Do you know what I'm saying? I got it from you,
Mhm.
and I understood what you were explaining to me, and I understand that vocabulary is important, but if I had studied it myself,
Your passion would have been.
my passion would have been a little more, and I would have been able to speak to things a little more, and that's why I was kind of quiet, because I didn't want to say the wrong thing.
And I was trying to support you. Saw me, I'll look at you and be like, okay, let me get it.
Yeah, and so I don't like that. I like to know what I'm talking about. I like
Well, I
to
took
know,
care of you.
you did, but I like
Okay.
to know what I'm talking about,
'Cause
so
look,
I studied
She
it
was
myself.
giving me eyes, but
She was giving you eyes, but I'm like, say what? You know?
But I was watching you guys, and I was like, cause I don't know if you saw, I'll do this too. And I'll be like, okay, let me answer.
Yeah, but I don't like that. If
I
I,
got
you
it.
know,
Mm-hmm, got it.
and a glow. I got a feel for what it might be like supporting teachers and, having to delegate and get feedback from teachers and knowing how to navigate